8 years old.
6 or 7.
Yes, 7 years old. We were apprentice clowns.
At 47, Property Brothers star Drew Scott is finally breaking his silence and confirming the rumors fans have been whispering about for years. From sudden breaks in filming to health scares and surprising changes in his personal life, Drew's journey hasn't been as picture-perfect as it might seem on screen. So, what's really been going on behind the scenes? And why is Drew speaking out now? Join us as we uncover the truth behind the headlines and take a closer look at the man behind the camera. Humble beginnings in Vancouver. Drew Scott's story began in 1978 in Vancouver, Canada, where he was born alongside his identical twin brother, Jonathan. From the very start, their lives were closely connected. They were more than just brothers. They were best friends and teammates in everything they did. Growing up as twins meant they shared not only a birthday, but also many of the same experiences, dreams, and challenges. Their parents, Jim and Joan Scott, played a huge role in shaping who they became. Jim, their father, had a fascinating background that influenced the boys more than anyone could have expected. Before settling into a quieter life, Jim worked as an actor and a stuntman in the film industry. This meant that entertainment was always a part of their home life. The boys grew up hearing stories from movie sets and watching their father perform. While Jim eventually left that world behind to focus on his family, the seeds of creativity and performance were already planted in Drew and Jonathan. Jim didn't just inspire them with his acting past, he also taught them about hard work, independence, and the importance of making their own way in life. From a young age, he pushed the twins to think like entrepreneurs. He didn't hand things to them easily. Instead, he encouraged them to take responsibility, complete real tasks, and learn the value of money. At just 7 years old, the boys were already thinking about ways to earn. By the age of 8, Drew and Jonathan started their very first business. They made and sold nylon-wrapped wire hangers, going door to door in their neighborhood to find customers. It was a simple product, but it was their own creation. They put time and effort into making the hangers and selling them. Their hard work paid off when one customer placed a bulk order. That moment was a big deal for the boys. It was their first real taste of business success. This experience didn't just give them some extra pocket money, it sparked a fire in them. They realized that with creativity and effort, they could build something on their own. It was the beginning of a journey that would later grow into something much bigger. While real estate would eventually become a major part of Drew Scott's life, his first love was performance. In their teenage years, Drew and Jonathan were drawn toward entertainment and performing. Being the children of a former actor and stuntman, it's no surprise that the stage felt natural to them. They participated in school theater and other local productions. Drew loved stepping into different roles and performing in front of an audience. But they didn't just act for fun. They also found clever ways to earn money from it. One of the most unusual but interesting ways they did this was by becoming trained party clowns. That's right, Drew and Jonathan performed at parties as clowns, entertaining kids and earning money at the same time. They learned to juggle, make balloon animals, and tell jokes. It might sound funny, but it taught them valuable lessons about confidence, dealing with people, and thinking on their feet. These early performances helped Drew become comfortable in front of crowds, something that would come in handy much later in his career on television. Despite his growing interest in acting, Drew also knew the importance of education. He chose to take a break from acting to focus on his studies. He and Jonathan both enrolled at the University of Calgary. It was a big step, and it showed that Drew was serious about building a strong foundation for his future. Even while in school, he kept his creative spirit alive. He continued to perform whenever he could, but now he was also starting to think about how to earn a living and build a stable future. And, as it turned out, all of these experiences, from business and acting to dealing with setbacks, would soon come together in a surprising way that would change his life forever. Stick around, because next, we'll dive into how Drew's university years led him straight into the world of real estate even though he had no idea it would eventually take him to TV stardom. The Vancouver Shift. Their first real estate experience began out of necessity. Drew and Jonathan leased a rundown house near the university. Instead of simply living in it, they had a better idea. They decided to fix it up and rent it out to other students. It was their first try at renovating a property for profit. The work was tough. They were still full-time students after all, but the outcome was worth it. They ended up making money from the rental. And more importantly, they realized they had a talent for real estate. That first flip sparked something in them. Drew and Jonathan soon began looking for more properties they could renovate and resell. Bit by bit, they grew more experienced. They learned how to spot a good deal, how to manage budgets, and how to improve homes in ways that would bring in more money. It wasn't long before they saw real estate as more than just a side hustle. It was turning into a serious business. However, the road wasn't always smooth. In their early deals, the brothers often had to work with real estate agents. Unfortunately, some of these experiences were disappointing. Drew felt that some of the agents didn't have the same level of care or honesty he expected. This led him to a big decision. If they were going to keep working in real estate, they needed to have full control. So, Drew studied hard and earned his real estate license. This gave him the tools to take charge of their deals and handle every part of the process on his own. By 2006, the brothers decided to make things official. They launched Scott Real Estate, their own company. The goal was simple: buy homes, fix them, and sell them. But for Drew, real estate was still a backup plan. His heart was still set on acting and entertainment. After helping get the company started, he decided it was time to chase his true dream again. Drew handed most of the responsibilities over to Jonathan and moved back to Vancouver to give acting another try. Returning to Vancouver was an exciting moment for Drew. This was his chance to finally commit to what he loved most: being in front of the camera. He enrolled in acting classes to sharpen his skills and began attending industry events to build a network. He wanted to meet casting agents, producers, and anyone else who could help him land a big role. He was all in, focused on making it as an actor. But following your dream doesn't always come easy. Despite his talent and determination, Drew wasn't getting the results he had hoped for. The entertainment world was competitive, and roles were hard to come by. On top of that, acting classes and living expenses were adding up. Without steady income, Drew began to fall into debt. It was a tough time. He had taken a risk by stepping away from the real estate business, and now he was struggling just to get by. Faced with this reality, Drew knew he had to make a smart move. He didn't want to give up on acting, but he also couldn't ignore the financial pressure. So he made a choice that would change everything. He brought Scott Real Estate to Vancouver. By opening a second branch of the company in his new city, he was able to bring in income and continue working on what he already knew how to do well: real estate. Starting fresh in Vancouver meant Drew had to hustle again. He had to find properties, build a team, and get clients. But it worked. The new branch became successful, and Drew finally found a balance. He was now managing real estate deals during the day and going to acting classes or auditions whenever he could. It wasn't easy, but it gave him both stability and a chance to keep his creative goals alive. Drew didn't give up on his dreams. He adjusted, adapted, and kept moving forward, combining his passion with smart choices. And soon, that mix of talents would lead to the opportunity of a lifetime. You'll want to stick around. Next, we'll dive into how a failed reality show idea turned into the mega hit Property Brothers. The birth of Property Brothers. That big opportunity started to take shape in the form of a TV show idea. As Drew and Jonathan continued flipping homes and building their business, they also began thinking more seriously about how to bring their story to a larger audience. With their growing experience in both entertainment and real estate, it made sense to try pitching a show that could blend both worlds. Their first real pitch was for a concept called Realtor Idol. It was modeled somewhat after popular talent competition shows like American Idol, but instead of singers, it would feature real estate agents competing in different challenges. While it was a fresh idea, it didn't quite land with producers. The format didn't seem to capture the emotional side of home buying and renovation that viewers usually connect with, so the idea was passed on. Not long after, another concept came up, this one called My Dream Home. It had a more personal and heartfelt focus. The show would follow a real estate expert, helping families find and fix up their dream homes within a limited budget and time frame. This version felt more meaningful and more relatable. Drew was selected to host it, and at first, he was set to be paired with a female co-host. But as development went on, Drew had a better idea. He told the producers about his identical twin brother, Jonathan, someone who wasn't just family but also a skilled contractor with years of experience in renovations. He explained that the two had been working side by side for years and had incredible chemistry. Not only were they close, but they also had the perfect combination of skills. Drew with real estate and negotiation, and Jonathan with construction and design. The producers loved the idea. It was something that hadn't been done before. Twin brothers teaming up to help families fix up houses and turn them into dream homes. It added a fun and unique dynamic to the show. Plus, the fact that they were both experienced in their fields made the concept even stronger. With that, the show's format shifted again, and this time it clicked perfectly. The title was changed to Property Brothers, and the vision became clear. Drew would help families find the right home within their budget, usually a fixer-upper, and Jonathan would lead the renovation work to transform it. Together, they would deliver a beautiful, finished home and a memorable experience. Property Brothers premiered on HGTV in 2011, and from the very first season, it struck a chord with audiences. The show wasn't just about real estate or renovation, it was about real families, real struggles, and real transformations. Viewers saw the emotional highs and lows of the home buying journey. They watched as budgets were tested, construction timelines got tight, and plans had to change. And of course, every episode ended with that satisfying big reveal, the moment when families walked into their new dream home for the first time. Drew's role was crucial. He helped each family understand what they could afford, showed them homes that matched their needs, and negotiated the best deals possible. Jonathan took over from there, managing the renovation with his eye for design and practical know-how. Their teamwork and natural banter made the show feel genuine, not staged. That chemistry was one of the main reasons why viewers kept coming back episode after episode. Thanks to its emotional storytelling, useful information, and strong visuals, Property Brothers became an instant hit. It launched the Scott brothers into stardom and set the stage for what would become a full-on media empire. They weren't just real estate guys or TV hosts anymore. They were full-fledged brand creators, entertainers, and industry leaders. Drew's health crisis. In 2019, viewers started to notice something unusual. Drew wasn't appearing in the show as often as before. Some episodes featured him less, and at certain points, he was missing altogether. Fans began to speculate. Was something going on between Drew and his brother Jonathan? Was there a disagreement that caused tension on set? Had Drew decided to take a break from the show for good? The questions continued to grow until Drew decided it was time to clear the air. In a heartfelt public statement, Drew revealed the truth. He had been battling serious health issues for over a year. His reduced presence on the show had nothing to do with any family drama. The real reason was much more personal and much more serious. Drew explained that he had started experiencing strange symptoms that didn't seem to make sense together. At first, it felt like the flu, but instead of getting better, things slowly got worse. He dealt with flu-like symptoms, including deep fatigue, body aches, and constant exhaustion. Over time, gastrointestinal distress began to affect him. He also became extremely sensitive to heat, which made working under studio lights or on outdoor renovations incredibly difficult. He knew something was wrong, but no one could tell him what. Drew visited several doctors and underwent countless tests, but for a long time there were no clear answers. That was perhaps the most frustrating part, not knowing what was happening inside his body. Without a diagnosis, it was hard to find the right treatment, and the uncertainty only added to his physical discomfort. After months of testing, doctors finally suspected mercury poisoning as a possible cause. There was also concern that he was suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome, a condition known for its deep, long-lasting exhaustion that doesn't improve with rest. These conditions explained many of Drew's symptoms, but they still came with no easy fix. Physically, Drew was struggling, but emotionally it was even harder. For someone who had always been full of life and driven by passion, having to slow down was incredibly difficult. He couldn't film the way he wanted. He couldn't be there for every episode. He felt like he was letting people down, even though none of it was his fault. At first, Drew kept his struggles mostly private. But over time, he realized that staying silent was not helping him or anyone else going through something similar. So, he opened up. He took to social media to share what he was going through, posting honest updates about his symptoms, treatments, and emotional ups and downs. Fans responded with overwhelming support. Many had also faced mysterious or invisible illnesses and could relate to the frustration of being sick without a clear explanation. Others were simply moved by Drew's honesty and bravery. By sharing his health battle so publicly, Drew gave others permission to talk about their own struggles and not feel ashamed. His posts often spoke about the fear and isolation he felt, the toll it took on his mental health, and how he leaned on family and close friends for strength. He explained how frustrating it was not to be in control of his body and how important it was to speak up when something doesn't feel right. Through this difficult time, Drew became an advocate for invisible illnesses, conditions that may not be obvious on the outside but are very real and very painful. He reminded his fans that we never truly know what someone else is going through, and that kindness and patience can go a long way. Eventually, after months of rest, treatments, and professional support, Drew's health began to improve. His body slowly regained strength and the worst symptoms began to fade. He didn't bounce back overnight. It was a long process, but he was determined to return to doing what he loved. With careful health management and the support of doctors, Drew made a full recovery. He was finally able to get back to filming Property Brothers and other related shows. Fans were thrilled to see him return to the screen, smiling and joking just like old times. His return to television wasn't just a personal victory. It was a moment that showed viewers the power of resilience. Despite how hard the past year had been, Drew didn't give up. He pushed through the pain, stayed hopeful, and came back stronger. Since returning, Drew has continued to share wellness tips with his followers. He talks about the importance of regular checkups, listening to your body, and not being afraid to slow down when needed. For fans, he's not just a real estate expert or TV host. He's someone they can look up to in a more personal, relatable way. He also thanked his brother Jonathan, who carried the show during Drew's absence. Their bond, which had always been a strong part of Property Brothers, seemed even stronger now. The health crisis reminded them, and their fans, how important it is to support each other through tough times. Meeting Linda Fan. Drew Scott may be known around the world as one half of the Property Brothers duo, but behind the scenes, he's also a devoted husband and father. His journey in love and family life has been just as meaningful as his television career. And just like everything else he does, Drew has taken this part of life seriously, with care, patience, and heart. Drew met his future wife, Linda Fan, in 2010 in Los Angeles. At the time, he was attending a Toronto Fashion Week event being held in LA, and Linda happened to be working there. They ran into each other at a bar during the event, and something clicked right away. Both of them shared a strong love for travel, creativity, and adventure, and the conversation flowed easily. Linda stood out to Drew, not just for her looks, but for her independent personality and sense of humor. She didn't care about celebrity or fame, and that was refreshing for someone like Drew, who was starting to become more recognizable from his work in real estate and on screen. Linda was working as a creative director and venture capitalist, with no interest in stepping into the spotlight herself. That balance between them was part of what made their connection work. As their relationship grew, Linda eventually began helping with the behind-the-scenes business of Scott Brothers Entertainment. Her creative background fit well into their production company, and she supported many of their projects with her eye for design, marketing, and brand development. Drew and Linda dated for 8 years before getting married. They took their time, building a strong relationship based on communication, shared values, and mutual support. During those years, Linda became more involved with Drew's world, including helping manage business efforts and traveling with him to shoots. Still, the couple remained private and grounded, even as their public exposure increased. In 2016, Drew proposed to Linda during a dinner date at home. It wasn't flashy, but it was heartfelt, exactly what suited their personalities. The engagement was met with warm excitement from fans, and 2 years later, the couple got married in one of the most memorable weddings in HGTV history. Their wedding took place in May 2018. At a beautiful location in Italy, surrounded by friends and family, the ceremony was intimate, romantic, and joyful. It wasn't just a wedding. It was a celebration of everything they had built together over nearly a decade. The event was featured in the special TLC documentary Drew and Linda Say I Do, which allowed fans to see a more personal side of their lives. The documentary followed them through wedding preparations, heartfelt moments, and the actual ceremony, giving viewers a glimpse into their deep bond. In 2022, Drew and Linda entered a whole new chapter: parenthood. They welcomed their first child, a baby boy named Parker James Scott, in May of that year. The couple had been open about their desire to start a family, and when the time came, they were thrilled. Parker's birth was shared with fans on social media, and Drew spoke openly about the joy and responsibility of becoming a dad. Fatherhood changed Drew's life in many ways. He talked about how his priorities shifted, with family becoming the central focus of his life. Even with a busy filming schedule, ongoing renovation projects, and business responsibilities, Drew made it clear that being present for his son and wife was the most important thing. Drew has also shared the emotional side of becoming a parent. He often posts about the simple joys of spending time with Parker, whether it's singing lullabies, changing diapers, or just watching him learn and grow. He's talked about the challenge of balancing work and family, but also the importance of setting boundaries and creating quality time. Drew and Linda are more than just a couple. They're a team, both personally and professionally. While Drew often appears on camera, Linda prefers to work behind the scenes. But that doesn't mean she's any less involved. She's had a huge influence on the creative direction of Scott Brothers Entertainment and has helped shape their brand over the years. Even with their fame, the couple is known for keeping a simple and grounded lifestyle. They enjoy quiet evenings at home, traveling as a family, and spending time in nature. They avoid the Hollywood party scene and instead focus on what matters most: each other, their son, and the values they share. Drew Scott confirms the rumors. Recently, Drew and Jonathan Scott appeared together on Sirius XM's popular show Andy Cohen Live. It seemed like a typical chat between friendly siblings, But things quickly got interesting. At one point, host Andy Cohen asked a question that caught both brothers off guard. "If I looked into both of your bank accounts, would I see the same amount of money?" At first, Drew and Jonathan joked around, keeping the tone light. But as the question sank in, they realized it hit on something deeper. What started as casual banter took a serious turn when Jonathan paused, then answered honestly. It was clear that this simple question was about to reveal more than listeners expected. Jonathan was the first to break the playful mood. He shared a surprising truth. During the early seasons of Property Brothers, he was on set 3 times more than Drew. While Drew would appear at the start and end of the show to introduce the project and close the episode, Jonathan stayed continuously through the full process of renovating homes. After 10 years of this routine, Jonathan finally felt like he had to speak up. One day, during filming, he asked Drew a loaded question. "Should I maybe get paid 3 times what you get paid?" That moment was telling. For fans, it was one of the clearest glimpses yet into the behind-the-scenes business of the hit show. Jonathan's question wasn't just a passing joke, it was honest and direct. It showed how his growing frustration about the imbalance had reached a point where he could no longer stay silent. Drew responded quickly and firmly. "You're never allowed to bring this up again, ever." His tone was playful, but there was a clear boundary in his words. Drew then explained why, saying he was the one who handled the contracts, the negotiations, and all the legal details behind the scenes. In his view, that work carried its own value, one that wasn't as visible but was just as important. Even though Drew's response sounded firm, it was also honest. He was not dismissing Jonathan's feelings. Instead, he was trying to show that there was a balance to their partnership that wasn't obvious on camera. Yes, Jonathan worked harder on site, but Drew was handling the business side, dealing with banks, networks, and legal teams to ensure the show moved forward. Their banter that day wasn't dramatic or emotional. It was casual. Yet beneath it, there was a clear message. This wasn't just a funny moment. It was a real tension that had built up over years working together. Even in their lighthearted exchange, fans could sense how deeply they cared about each other and how complex sharing a creative career with a sibling could be. For years, fans sometimes wondered why Drew seemed less present during renovation scenes. Some speculated about a possible rift between the brothers. Others wondered if Drew was being paid more because of his higher visibility or role in negotiating deals. Until the Andy Cohen live interview, most of this was just speculation. But when Jonathan opened up, the brothers confirmed the rumors. There was indeed a difference in filming time and salary. And it wasn't just part of conventional behind-the-scenes work. It was an issue they had to discuss as partners. What made the moment special was how they handled it. There was no hidden drama, no public argument. They answered calmly, with honesty and humor. They didn't dodge the question, and they didn't try to spin it either. In that moment, they showed maturity, acknowledging tension, but not letting it fracture their relationship or confuse their audience. They addressed it head-on, proving that trust and transparency can coexist even in long-standing partnerships. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update on your favorite stars and their inspiring journeys.